Psalm 13 says, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look on me and answer, Lord my God, give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death. And my enemy will say, I have overcome him, and my foes will rejoice when I fall." Last week, I received the most terrible news from some friends we've known for almost 40 years. One of their 3 daughters was knocked from her bike by a car in London and is now in an induced coma on a ventilator with a very unknown outcome. Please light a candle for Alice in the evenings, if it's something you do. This is a savage and sudden experience for her parents, her family, and her friends of disorientation. On a really infinitely much smaller scale in comparison to this, we have just heard that our precious and long-awaited holiday in August has been cancelled by the owners of the house because of the government instructions for letting holiday property being absolutely impossible, according to her. And according to another friend, bonkers. So we're very disorientated. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, and certainly compared to the previous example, this is a tiny misfortune, and we're extremely fortunate to be able to book a holiday in the first place. But because it's the one chance we have each year to gather our family, it feels disorientating. And then take lockdown itself, which has been and is disorientating in a long-term way for millions. I'm starting a new series of 4 in the Psalms today, and I want to think first about disorientation and how the Psalms can help us travel through it to being reorientated, or we could say from darkness to light. There's personal disorientation, as in the examples I've given, and there's corporate disorientation. And over the next weeks, we'll think about both, and also about personal and corporate reorientation, seasons of light. It won't all be dark. I've said before how I love the Psalms because they contain both holy worship and judgmental ranting. A more theological way of expressing this is to speak of Psalms that express gratitude for the blessings of seasons of well-being, Psalms of orientation or light, and there are Psalms that treat times of anguish and hurt and alienation, suffering, even death, and express rage and resentment, self-pity, and even hatred. These are Psalms of disorientation, Psalms in which the author lets rip, the judgmental ranting. And there are Psalms that reflect those surprising times when we're overwhelmed with new gifts from God, when joy breaks through the despair, often unexpectedly, and light dispels darkness. Life is like this. Most of us have times of stability and times of despair and darkness, and then times of relief again. Sometimes these seasons are very long, but none of them is static because we're always moving, however slowly, from one circumstance to another, changing and being changed, sometimes finding ourselves surprised by a new circumstance we didn't expect and resistant to it, clinging to the familiarity of the old circumstance. So the life of faith expressed through the Psalms reflects both seasons of stability and seasons of disruption, but also the reality of change. Constant change is here to stay, as the saying goes, and most of us find it hard to adapt to change. Perversely, we can even prefer the familiarity and discomfort of disorientation to the blessing of reorientation. Right now, we are looking for a house, and every house we see reminds me how much I love this house, Holy Trinity House, and what a gift it is, and how I don't really want to leave it. Moving from one state to another can feel unsafe, and for me, moving house feels unsafe right now. With much more serious things, like our friend's daughter's terrible accident, we question God's goodness. Where were you? Why did you let this happen? It often brings a rush of negatives: rage, resentment, guilt, shame, isolation, despair, hatred, hostility. And then just when we thought all was lost, something happens. We're surprised by a new gift from God, a new coherence, a new relationship, a new job, a new house, I hope. Or if we think about much bigger things, a recovery from accident or sickness, or a diminishing of the acute anguish of bereavement. Psalm 13 expresses this personal disorientation and disarray. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look on me and answer me, God. Give light to my eyes or I'll sleep in death. And so on. Well, why is this so good and helpful? Because the Psalms are profoundly subversive of our dominant culture, which denies and covers darkness and denies our failure at trying to exercise control. In one of his commentaries on the Psalms, Walter Brueggemann writes, "The dominant ideology of our culture is committed to continuity and success and to the avoidance of pain, hurt, and loss. As children of the Enlightenment, we have censored and selected around the voice of darkness and disorientation, seeking to go from strength to strength, from victory to victory." Well, the Psalms protest against this. They invite us to honestly face the darkness. Even in darkness, the Psalms tell us there is one to address. He who is with us in the darkness, but not part of it. Psalms are voices of faith in our actual life. They connect our actual experiences with the offer of faith. They insist that the world must be experienced as it really is, not in some pretend good way. In Psalm 13 and in many other places, David pours out his anguish, and we can almost hear his desperation. Answer me, God, or I'm going to die. He's wrestling with his thoughts. His heart is full of sorrow. Other Psalms like this speak of anguish and of weeping all night, like Psalm 6, or of enduring hostility and ostracism, as in Psalm 35. These things really happen. Everything is not all right all the time. But nothing is out of bounds or taboo for discussion with God, even if we consider him to be the cause of our discomfort. Why has he allowed my suffering? Real human life includes loss and darkness, but the Psalms tell us God is right there in it with us, and this truth gives us great hope. We're not alone in our darkness. If you feel disorientated or in darkness today, cry out and protest freely with the psalmist. Your Father hears your cries. He absorbs everything and anything you say, including the most gut-wrenching rants, and is closer than your own breath. In the words of Martin Smith's beautiful Song of Solomon that we as a church sing, "When I feel the cold of winter and this cloak of sadness, I need you. All the evil things that shake me, all the words that break me, I need you. Over the mountains, over the sea, here you come running, my lover, to me. Oh, through the valleys, through the dark of night, here you come running to hold me till it's light." He always holds us till it's light because he gives us the true enlightenment, which is why we can say with David at the end of this Psalm 13, "But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me." Amen.